The receptionist's voice cut through the cool air of the Okafor Group lobby. "Ma, your name?" Adaeze Nwosu smoothed her blazer with both hands. She had rehearsed this, the smile, the handshake, the 3-minute introduction about her 10 years in marketing. She was ready. "Adaeze Nwosu," she said. Her voice did not tremble. She had worked hard to make sure of that. The receptionist typed something, frowned slightly, and typed again. "And the role you're applying for? Head of marketing?" Adaeze lifted her chin. Even now, even with her savings gone and her account balance a number, she could not say aloud she still carried herself like a woman who had never known embarrassment. Old habits. "Please have a seat, Ma. The CEO will be with you shortly." The CEO. Adaeze had not slept the night before.
The conference room is ready for you now.
Not because she was nervous about the interview.
I'll take you there.
She had not slept because of the name above the glass door she had walked through that morning. Okafor Group. It had sat in her chest like a stone since she first saw it on the job listing. She had told herself it was a common name. There were many Okafors in Nigeria. The Emeka Okafor she had known was nobody. A thin boy with worn shoes and tired eyes who had once stood in her father's compound in Onitsha holding a bunch of wilted roses. She had laughed at him. Not quietly, not with kindness. She had laughed the way a woman laughs when she cannot believe what she is seeing. "You?" she had said that day. "You, of all people?" That was 9 years ago. The elevator at the far end of the lobby pinged softly. Adaeze did not look up. She should have. 9 years is a long time, but some memories do not age. They sit in the body like old wounds that only open in certain weather. Emeka Okafor had first seen Adaeze on a Thursday afternoon in Onitsha, on the day her father's shop reopened after the flood. She had been standing in the doorway in a yellow wrapper, laughing at something her cousin said, and the sound of it had stopped him mid-step on the road. He was 23. He drove a tricycle for a living. He lived in a single room behind his uncle's compound, a mattress, a reading lamp, and a box of books. He had nothing to offer her except his whole self. And in Onitsha, in those years, a whole self with empty pockets was considered no offer at all. But Emeka did not know how to want things halfway. He saved for 3 weeks to buy those roses, pink and white, wrapped in cellophane, already bending by the time he arrived because he had carried them on the tricycle through the afternoon heat. He had ironed his one good shirt 4 times. He had rehearsed his words the way some men pray quietly and with his eyes closed. Her father's gateman let him in. Adaeze came out with 2 cousins behind her. The moment she saw him, the tricycle parked outside, the wilted flowers, his clean but clearly worn shoes, her expression changed. Emeka. She said his name the way one says the name of something unwanted. "What are you doing here?" he told her. Quietly, with dignity. She had laughed. Her cousins had laughed. Her father, watching from the veranda, said nothing. "Go and make something of yourself first," Adaeze said, turning away. "Then come and talk to me." She did not look back. Emeka stood in that compound a moment longer than he should have. Then he walked back to his tricycle and drove home in silence. That night, he opened his box of books and read until morning. What Adaeze did not know, what she could not have known that day in her father's compound, was that Emeka Okafor was not broken by humiliation. He was sharpened by it. He drove the tricycle for 2 more years. In those 2 years, he saved every naira that did not go to food or rent. He read at night, business books, finance books, books about men who had started with nothing and ended with everything. He did not read them as entertainment. He read them the way a man in a burning building reads a map. When he had saved enough, he enrolled in a part-time business program in Akka. He sold the tricycle to pay the first semester fees. He walked to class. 3 years passed. He moved to Lagos with 45,000 naira, a recommendation letter from his lecturer, and a hunger that had nothing to do with missing meals. He slept on his cousin's floor in Surulere. He took an entry-level job at a logistics company and stayed late every night, not because he was asked to, but because the office had electricity and Wi-Fi, and he was still learning. 5 years passed. The company he built with 2 partners started in a rented room in Ikeja. It grew the way quiet things grow steadily, without announcement. By the time anyone in Onitsha heard the name Okafor Group, it was already worth more than they could count. Emeka had not gone back to Onitsha to show anyone. He had simply kept going. If this story already has you on the edge of your seat, you are not alone. Subscribe to TalesbyTolani right now and turn on your notifications, because the moment Adaeze and Emeka come face to face in that office is something you do not want to miss. He had not thought about Adaeze in years. Or so he told himself. The lobby of Okafor Group was quiet in the way that expensive places are quiet, air-conditioned, softly lit, every surface chosen to signal that the people inside knew exactly what they were doing. Adaeze had been sitting for 11 minutes. She kept checking her phone, then putting it away, then checking again. Her portfolio was on her lap. Her CV had been printed on cream paper, not white. Small details. She had always believed small details separated the people who were chosen from the people who were not. She had not always been this careful. 10 years ago, she had been the one being chosen. Marketing director at 31. A car she had bought herself. A marriage briefly, and then not a marriage. 2 children who lived with her now in a rented apartment in Lekki that cost more than she could comfortably afford. The industry had changed. Her company had downsized. Her savings had done what savings do when they are not replaced. They disappeared, quietly, naira by naira, until one morning, she opened her banking app and felt the earth shift slightly beneath her feet. And so here she was. She had never met the man who ran Okafor Group. She had seen his name in business papers, Okafor, founder, and thought nothing of it, because she had believed for 9 years that the Emeka Okafor she once knew would never amount to much. The elevator pinged. This time, Adaeze looked up. The doors opened, and the whole lobby, the air, the light, the sound of her own breathing seemed to stop. He had not changed. That was the first thing she thought. He was taller somehow, or perhaps it was the suit, charcoal gray, fitted without being loud. His shoes were not cheap. His face was the same face, calm and unreadable. The face of a man who had long since decided that the world's opinion of him was not a factor he needed to consider. Emeka Okafor crossed the lobby slowly. Adaeze did not move. He saw her at the exact moment she saw him. She knew because his step, just for one fraction of 1 second, changed. Not a flinch, not a freeze. Just a barely perceptible shift, like a man who has seen something unexpected and has already decided how to handle it. He sat down in the chair across from her, not behind a desk, not with a folder in his hand. He sat the way he had always sat, directly, with no performance. Adaeze. He said her name the way a person states a fact. Emeka. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. I know why you are here, he said. I reviewed the CVs myself. You are qualified. More than qualified? A pause. That is not the question. Adaeze's hands were still. Her face was still. But inside her chest, something was moving, something old and uncomfortable, and shaped exactly like regret. The question, Emeka said, is whether you can work in an environment where the person above you is someone you once found beneath you. Silence. The air conditioning hummed. I was young, she said finally. I was foolish. He looked at her for a long moment. Not with anger, not with triumph, with something far more difficult to receive. Understanding. Yes, he said quietly. So was I. She took the job. She was good at it. Everyone at Okafor Group said so within the first 3 months. Emeka never treated her differently from any other member of staff. He was fair, direct, and professional. They never spoke of that afternoon in Onitsha again. But some things do not need to be spoken to be understood. There is a kind of wisdom that only comes from living long enough to become the person you once dismissed. Adaeze learned this slowly, the way all important lessons are learned, not in a moment of dramatic revelation, but in the quiet accumulation of ordinary days. She learned to greet the office cleaner by name. She learned to listen before she spoke. She learned that the distance between pride and humiliation is not as wide as the young believe. And that life, with great patience, has a way of showing everyone both sides of that distance. Emeka, for his part, never lost the hunger that her laughter had first lit inside him. He simply learned to let it warm him rather than burn him. And the roses? Many years later, His daughter found a photograph in an old box. A young man, thin and clean, holding wilted flowers in a compound somewhere in Onitsha. She asked him about it. He smiled. That, he said, was the day everything started. Pride is a gate, and life always holds the key. Humiliation is never the end of the story. Sometimes it is only the first sentence. Thank you so much for watching. What is your view about this story? Did you learn something today? Share it in the comments and let us know where in the world you are watching from. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to TalesbyTolani, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Stay blessed.